know if you can just dig up a plant and divide it, if you're not going to hurt it. And there's a lot of different ways. Plants grow in lots of different ways. So if we take a plant like this grass here, and I'm going to dig a piece, that's a daffodil. Here's a piece of my grass. Now every one of these is a different plant. I could go and just plant these separately, but there's a whole big clump here. So if I just take a big chunk of it, I might damage a couple of them, but there's like hundreds of them, so it's not going to matter. So I can, if it grows like this, like grass does that, this mum does that. See, every one of these is a different little plant, and I could just cut a hunk off and leave the rest there. I could cut this whole chunk off, and this part would be just fine because these are all individual little plants. Now, some plants are not going to grow exactly like that, so we're going to go around and look at some other ways that plants grow, and so you can see if you can just divide them, take a chunk off, or what else you might need to do. So I've got this garden phlox. It's a phlox that gets about this tall. It's pink. It's really, really pretty. But I've got this big clump. I already took a piece of it and moved it right there. I want to spread it out because if you have one big clump, they tend to get overgrown, and sometimes they don't stand up very well. They'll fall over. And so if you want a big show of color, it's better to have a bunch of small clumps rather than one great big clump. So there's one piece of it. I'm going to take another piece out of here. I think I will take some of this back one off. And as long as you do this in the early spring before it has very much growth on it, they will move very nicely. If you wait and do this in the summertime, you will kill the plant. But in the spring, early spring like this, when it's not growing too much, you can dig it up and move it around. So now we've got this nice piece. We're going to take it down here and move it and plant it over here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and plant this here. When you're planting it, you want to have it at the same depth that you dug it out at. You don't want it to be too deep. You don't want it to be sticking out of the ground either. So dig your hole big enough that it can fit in there nicely and be at the right depth. So now that looks pretty good. I always put my water in right around the roots before I put dirt in there. Water it really good. Stamp it down. Oops. Now this should be good. Now it is kind of hot and it's right against the fence, so sometimes if this ever starts looking kind of wilty, I go get a bucket and put it upside down over the top of it. It probably will be fine, but if it does wilt, put a bucket over it. It acts like a little terrarium, keeps it nice and moisturized for a few days, then we can take the bucket off. So this one's a hollyhock, and if we get in here close and look at it, I can see there's maybe 4 different plants here, and they were probably little seedlings. So if I just tuck my shovel in there, I'm gonna ruin them. I'm gonna kill them because I'm gonna damage these plants. Now, if I had done this when they were little seedlings, I probably could have dug up the whole chunk and maybe unwound the roots. But at this point in time, if I cut this, I'm definitely gonna kill that. So you need to take a look at it and see how it's growing. If it's all going back to 1 or 2 stems, you don't want to just go in there and cut them in half. So this is a little foxglove, and if we come in here close, it's not a great big huge mound like my mums or my grasses. It's just a few, but you see it's kind of loose. They're not bound in there really tight together. So I think I could probably take this chunk, and I think I could leave this part here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to get my shovel in there and try and not get these, but I'm going to go straight down. Okay. Oh, I've got some of the roots from this bishopweed. There, now I think this will, look at all that nice root. I can go ahead and plant this, and I think we'll do just fine. And I didn't really disturb this part of the plant. But you can see it was kind of separated. Some things grow really tight together, some are a little loose. Some things like this bishopweed, this is a ground cover, and it's rooted all over the place. I could stick my shovel in there and just grab a hunk wherever, and it would grow just fine. And most ground covers are going to do that. Some plants will lay on the top of the ground and send down roots from above, and you can break those off as long as you've got a good piece of root. Most of the time they will transplant just really nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and plant this little foxglove that we dug up. So I'm going to dig my hole. You want to keep it at the same level that you took it out. Don't want it deeper than where it was originally. And then I like to put water right down in the roots. Oops, got to lift this up a little bit. Too deep. And then pack the dirt. You don't want any air pockets in there. And then this is a little trick I have found about, especially if like this, I should have done it a couple weeks ago, and it's kind of got a lot of growth. And that might, in a couple days, it might get kind of droopy. So I found if I take a bucket and put it over the top, if I water it good, put the bucket over it, kind of acts like a little greenhouse in there, keeps it nice and green and strong, and then I take it off after a few days, and they'll usually be really, really good. So I'm going to go ahead and put my bucket on there because it's kind of big to be moving it.